Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Bree if you're new here, and I love to talk about all things books. I love some books. I love immersing myself into different worlds to escape. You know, it's escapism is what it is. It really is. Like, I love my life, but like I love these lives too. And it's so fun to like be a different character every day if you want to choose to be, you know? Today I am here to talk about my wrap up for February, all the books that I read for the month of February. Do keep in mind, I do work a 9 to 5, so I don't get to read as much as I would want to, but I'm still gonna post my wrap up because I think I did pretty good, honestly, for the month of February. So this is my stack for February. I think I have 8 books total to talk about, 2 of which I did DNF, maybe a soft DNF. I'll get to those here in a minute. And then one which I'm currently on and haven't finished yet that will be going into my March wrap up. But I wanted to include it because I'm like halfway through and it was a part of my February TBR, so I did kind of want to check it off as a February TBR read. I'm going to be talking about all of these books today and the ones that I read for February. I guess I'll go ahead and jump on into it. I'll probably save my DNFs for the end of the video as well as the book that I'm currently reading. Okay, let's go ahead and start off with Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I stinking loved this book, you guys, so much. I did not expect when I picked this book up to love it as much as I did. I loved the interview style, writing style that she does in this book. And when I first opened it, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. I don't think I'm gonna get into it. But after I read, there's not really even chapters, there's parts in this book, sort of, but there's not, I mean, they're like very long chapters. So at first I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be into this. There's so many different characters on each page. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but like it breaks it up by character. There's like multiple on a page, and I did not expect that or know about that before I started reading the book. But basically it is about a girl named Daisy set in the late 60s to early 70s era. She is a young girl trying to get discovered with her music, and she's kind of I don't really know how to say it. She just isn't like the normal average girl. Like, she wants to stand out and just be herself and get noticed for her music. She starts to get really popular. Her voice is getting noticed. Around the same time that she's starting to get noticed, so is a band called The Six. At this point, when Daisy is starting to get more well known, The Six is like really popping off, but there's something missing there. When Daisy is starting to pop off with her music and The Six is getting like really, really well known and is in all these magazines and is being talked about all over the media, they decide to come together and work on a couple things and kind of collaborate. So once they were separate and it was just Daisy and just The Six, once they came together, everyone wanted them to stay together. Just their journey, each of their individual stories, from Daisy to Billy, Camilla, all of the other characters, the other band members, even just like the side friends in this story are amazing. I'll be totally honest too, for a quick second I had to do a Google search because I was like, wait, is this like a legit band? I went on Spotify when I first started it and I was looking up playlists. You know how you can go on Spotify and look up like different little playlists to listen to while you're reading books that go along with the book you're reading? I went on Spotify and one of the songs by Daisy Jones and the Six came up and I was like, oh my gosh, is that like, are they a real band? And I'm reading like a story based off of this actual band. It was made into a show. It was an adaptation made into a show. I think Prime Video took this one and turned it into a series. I haven't watched it yet, so let me know if I should. I loved this book so much. I loved the character development of every single character in this book. Not one character was like left out or left behind. I love that you see the story as you go through these interviews with every character, the thoughts and personality through these interview excerpts with all of the characters. I highly recommend this book, especially if you kind of just need a switch up. This is so different from other books that I've read, and I absolutely loved it. I do just want to say, for trigger warnings, there is some substance abuse in this book, as well as some cheating and stuff. So just an FYI, if you don't want to read that as part of the story, you may not enjoy this book so much. As for my star rating, my overall rating, I rated this book a 5-star. I loved it. I still think about it, and I definitely see myself rereading it in the future. Next time I read it, I'll definitely be annotating it. There's my first read of February. The next book I read in February is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. I loved this book so much too, you guys. It was so good. February was such a good reading month for me. Like, I feel like I read a great amount of books. I read really good books too. Like, The Ballad of Never After is the second book to Once Upon a Broken Heart, which is a series. I didn't know that I could love the characters more after the first book. I loved Once Upon a Broken Heart, but the second book is even better in my opinion. I feel like I just could not put this book down. It was so action-packed, which the first one was too, but this one, you get a lot more like character development in, just seeing a little bit more detail on the main characters' personalities is so good. The ending left on an insane cliffhanger as well. I knew this one was going to be a wild ride just from what everyone else was saying, but I loved it. I loved it. I fully immersed myself in this book. The world is so like magical, mystical, so good. Evangeline, slay. Amazing. She is the female main character. And then Jax, who is also in the first book, is... If you've read these books, you know. You just know. It's so good. That's all I can say. I don't have any other words other than it was just really good. So this book I ended up giving 5 stars as well. I know that's kind of crazy. I had multiple 5 stars in February, which I'm not complaining about. I loved it. Also just the fact that this is such a different story from Daisy Jones and the Six, and I gave both of them a 5-star. Hey, I'm not stingy really when it comes to star ratings, so I'm just not a picky person. I love different types of stories and stuff, so this one gave me that 5-star feeling as well. I enjoyed it so much. I would highly recommend this book to people that haven't read fantasy before or are in their like light fantasy stage. It definitely has like a lot of action in it. A lot of people have said before that it gives like Alice in Wonderland vibes, and I totally agree. It's almost like a childlike story but for adults, if that makes sense. This was written to my adult self wanting to read a book and feel like kind of like a kid again, but as an adult. I don't know. But if you want to dip your toe into fantasy, I highly recommend reading this book. This is a great one to start off with. Well, the series is a great one to start off with. So yeah, love this one. The next 2 books that I read are A Court of Wings and Ruin and A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I can't say a whole lot about either of these books just because, one, it's ACOTAR. Everyone loves ACOTAR. I also just don't want to spoil the first and second book in the series. I feel like saying much could spoil the first 2. I don't have a whole lot to say on these 2 other than the fact that I love them so much. I love the characters. I want an adaptation on this series so badly. I can't tell you of another book that I would want to see as a series more than this series. I am so attached to all of the characters in these books. It's unhealthy. I'm hoping to read A Court of Silver Flames this next month in March. I just need to go pick it up. I gave A Court of Wings and Ruin 4 stars and A Court of Frost and Starlight 3 stars. The only reason why I gave A Court of Frost and Starlight 3 stars is because I still love the story a whole lot, but it's a novella to the series, so there wasn't a ton that happened in the book. Honestly, I would probably give it more like a 3.5, but I did rate it on Goodreads a 3 just because it's very short. Not a whole lot happens in A Court of Frost and Starlight. It is really sweet, really wholesome. If I'm being totally honest, it's one of those books that like I read it, it was great to the story. It was a great little addition, but honestly, some of the stuff that happened in it, I've already forgotten about. But I would still recommend it for sure. Like I would still say you need to read this book to go along with and understand the series. So yeah, these were my next two books that I read in February. Love them so much. The next book I read is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Oh my goodness. This one is so sweet, such a wholesome, fun, very fast-paced rom-com style book. It's about a woman named Alexis who is a prestigious ER doctor. She ends up in this small town called Waukon and meets a guy named Daniel who is just so wholesome and sweet. Alexis and Daniel's story is so good because she is this like prestigious ER doctor. He is this very, very small town carpenter, and just seeing their worlds kind of collide and going through their tests and trials of such different lives in different worlds is so good. I will say, even though it seems very unrealistic, them being together seems very unrealistic, the reasons for their struggles actually make a lot of sense, and they're not like super selfish like a lot of other books are. That's all I'll say about this one. It was great for like an in-between style book. If you watch my last book and cook, I base my last book and cook off of this book, so I go into a lot more detail if you guys want to go watch that. Abby Jimenez is one of my favorite authors. She is very similar to Emily Henry. If you like her, you will definitely like Abby. I have read Part of Your World and Yours Truly now. Both of those books go together. So the side characters in this book are the main characters in Yours Truly and vice versa, which is awesome. One of the side characters is a main character in Yours Truly from this book. Abby always throws in like fun, cute little animals. She always throws in fun foods. She's always talking about some type of like mental health issues, just like to bring awareness to mental health in her books, and I love how beautifully she writes those but still makes a lighthearted story. Her books just like feel very real. I laugh out loud at them. They are just so easy to read. I also love, like, not only is she good at telling stories on the main characters, but she's incredible with the side characters too. And I feel the same way about Emily Henry. There are several characters in this book that I would love if she would do another book and keep kind of the quote unquote series going. So again, if you want the in-depth review on this book, go watch my book and cook. On Goodreads, I rated this one a 4-star, but really if I could do like half or quarter ratings, I would rate it a 4.25. It didn't give me that 5-star feeling that Yours Truly did, but it was still very much up there. I'm still thinking about these characters. I would recommend it to everyone. I just love Abby Jimenez so much. So yeah, love this one too. On to the book that I am currently in the middle of reading and will hopefully finish in the next couple days. I'll probably still include this one in my March wrap up, but I figured I would throw it in really quick just to let you guys know what I'm on because it was a part of my February TBR. That is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. This one has been very fun so far. It took a minute to get into because of all the different POVs, but it's very fast paced. It's a YA thriller. That's why I'm like flying through it right now. I also have it on my Kindle. So when I'm on my Kindle, I am Speedy Gonzalez. I don't know what it is about the Kindle that makes me read so stinking fast, but this is also a series. I think there are 3 books in the series. This one is basically about a few kids that end up in detention one day, and one of them ends up passing away in the middle of detention. The authorities think that one of the other kids had something to do with the death of the one that passes away while they're in detention. It is so fast paced. Like, I'm assuming it's probably because it is a YA. At first, it was taking me a minute to get into it just because there are so many different POVs, but I'm starting to blend all of it together now, and all of them have their own individual personality, and it's been really, really fun. And my brain is going a mile a minute. I'm like trying to guess every single chapter, who may know what's going on. I have an idea of who it might be. I'll keep you guys updated in the March wrap up whenever I talk about this one, if I'm right or not. I don't have a rating, obviously, right now. It's super good. Okay, so on to my DNFs for the month. I had 2, and I believe the reason why I DNF'd both of them is just because I'm not in this stage right now where I'm enjoying historical fiction. I don't know if I'll grow into that at some point, but both of them are historical fiction, and I just like did not super enjoy them. I couldn't immerse myself or really get behind the characters in either of them. Yeah, this may be soft DNF. Maybe at some point in the future I will read them. But the first one I tried listening to, and it's called The Last Days of Night by Graham Moore. This is what it looks like. And I listened to it on Spotify, but I just couldn't get into it. It has to do with, it follows this man named Paul who is like a lawyer to George Westinghouse and Thomas Edison. It's like an in-between fight with like the light bulb or something like that. I couldn't get into it. It was one of my book club books for February, and I didn't enjoy it. I had to let myself DNF, and I'm okay with that. I will say though, my book club on both of these books that I DNF'd for the month, after they talked about the books, I was like, okay, that actually sounds really interesting, and maybe I didn't get far enough in either of them to start to really enjoy them, but I read like almost 50%, I think, of that book, and I just could not get into it. And the other book that I DNF'd is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This one, it seems like it is written so beautifully, and I know there's a really cool story behind it, especially after my book club started talking about it. I was like, okay, that actually sounds like pretty good. This one is a classic, actually, not a historical fiction. I just couldn't get into this one either. I don't know if I'm just like not in my classics era. I may try picking this up again, but I had to DNF it. But I love the way that the book looks. I think it's pretty for my bookshelf. So, and then I totally forgot, I also listened to Lessons in Chemistry. Let me pull that one up really quick. I almost forgot about it because I don't have it physically, but I did listen to it this month. This is the last book that I read. I almost forgot about this one. I actually have 9 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 9 books for February, including this one. This one I listened to. It is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. This one was really good. This was another book club pick in another book club that I'm in, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's set in like the 60s to 70s, and it follows a woman named Elizabeth Zott, who is a scientist, and to see her story from the start of her being a scientist through some of her relationships, how she deals with things like with other characters in the 60s and 70s. Elizabeth is not an average woman by any means. She really tries to go against the idea that everyone had back then of being a woman, and the fact that you should stay home with the kids, be the one to make dinner, you are not the breadwinner for your family type of thing. And she really goes against that, and it is such a good story to read, and it's very empowering. I loved seeing her story and how she goes throughout trying to break the stigma of being a woman, and relationship with a man named Calvin, her being a woman at a research company and trying to be a scientist with all of these other men, how men kind of were and treated women back then. It's crazy, honestly. It really opened my eyes, and I super enjoyed it. I ended up giving this book a 4-star. It did take a little while to get into. I think it's a 450-page book, so it was a bit of a longer listen. Once I got probably like 20-ish% of the way through is when I really started to enjoy it and kind of understand her as a character. Some of the side characters too I really loved. I loved the dog in this book. I also loved the neighbor in this book, who ends up around the end of the book being a really solid side character. I was really happy with it being the book club pick for another one of my book clubs. So yeah, I gave that one 4 stars. All right, I think that's it for my February wrap up and all the books that I read in February. I feel like I had a really good reading month. A lot of high ratings as well as a couple DNFs, which is okay. I'm trying to be better about being okay with DNFs. It's fine. If I get a good percentage of the way through and I'm just not feeling it, I'm just gonna go and pick up another book. Like, I'm going to be okay and let myself pick out a book that I actually want to read at the end of the day, even if it's something that was on my TBR. Speaking of TBR, I almost finished my February TBR, which is so exciting, so happy. The only book that I didn't finish is One of Us is Lying, which is okay. I'm currently on it right now, and I'm hoping to finish it and have it completed for my March wrap up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books and what your thoughts were. I would love to hear kind of what you guys thought of these books, or maybe some recommendations for books that you think I might like. I'm blanking out. I think I need a nap. That sounds nice. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!